Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today we will practice English in a fun and powerful way. We will use the shadowing technique. Have you heard of it before? Shadowing is simple. First, listen to me read the sentence. Then, pause the video and repeat after me. Copy my tone, my speed, and my pronunciation. Try to sound like me, like a shadow. This method will help you improve your speaking, your listening, and your confidence. You can watch this video many times. Practice again and again. The more you shadow, the better your English will become. Are you ready to begin? Let's start today's story. The story is called The Call I Never Expected. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon for more shadowing stories. My name is Layla Hassan. I am 26 years old. I live in Chicago, Illinois. I work in a customer support office in the city. My job is busy. My phone rings all day. People complain. People ask questions. I always stay calm. I always help them. My manager likes me because I am serious. I never come late. I never miss work. I finish my tasks on time. I work hard because I have a reason. I live with my mother. She is a single mom. She works at a small bakery. She wakes up early every morning. Her hands are always tired, but she still smiles. I want to make her life easier. That is why I work so hard. One Monday morning, my manager called me into his office. His name was Mr. Khan. He was usually very strict. He did not smile much, so I felt nervous when he said my name. I walked into his office slowly. I sat down quietly. My hands were cold. Mr. Khan looked at me for a moment. Then he said, "Layla, you are one of our best workers." I blinked. I did not expect that. He continued, "You are smart, focused, and responsible." I felt proud. My heart started to beat faster. Then he said something that shocked me. He said, "Next week we have an international training program in London. We are sending you." I thought I did not hear him right. London? Me? I asked, "Sir, are you sure?" He smiled. It was a rare smile. He said, "Yes, you deserve it. This trip is fully paid." My mouth opened a little. I could not speak for a second. Then I whispered, "Thank you, sir." Mr. Khan nodded and said, "Don't waste this opportunity. Make us proud." I stood up and walked out. My legs felt weak. I wanted to scream. I wanted to laugh. I wanted to cry. It was my first trip outside the country. It felt like a dream. That evening, I went home and told my mother. She was standing in the kitchen. She was washing dishes. I said, "Mom, I have something to tell you." She looked at my face. She could tell it was important. She turned off the water. She said, "What happened?" I took a deep breath and said, "Mom, my company is sending me to London next week." My mother froze. Then her eyes became wide. She said, "London?" I nodded. She slowly smiled. Then her hugged me tightly. I could feel her heart beating. She whispered, "My daughter, you worked so hard. You deserve this." I held her and felt warm inside. That night, I could not sleep. I kept imagining airplanes, big buildings, and new streets. I kept thinking, this is really happening. The next few days were busy. I worked in the office. I also prepared for the trip. I checked my passport many times. I printed my ticket. I packed my clothes carefully. I packed a black suit for training. I packed simple shoes. I packed warm clothes because London was cold. I even packed a small gift for Mr. Khan. My mother helped me fold everything. She looked proud the whole time. Sometimes she touched my hair and smiled, like she was looking at a miracle. Finally, the day of my flight came. I woke up before sunrise. The sky was dark. The city was quiet. My mother made tea for me. She said, "Be careful. Call me when you land." I promised her. Then I hugged her and left home. I took a taxi to the airport. My stomach felt tight. I was excited, but also nervous. At the airport, everything was bright and loud. People were walking fast. I could hear rolling suitcases. I could smell coffee and perfume. I walked to the check-in line. I held my passport tightly. I looked at the big screens with flight numbers. I felt like a small person in a huge world. I stood in line and waited. The line moved slowly. People were talking in different languages. Some were smiling, some looked stressed. I was standing near an old woman. She looked about 70 years old. She wore a blue scarf. Her hands were shaking. She held a brown purse very tightly. I noticed she kept looking behind her. I thought maybe she was worried about missing her flight. I did not think much at first. Then, suddenly, the old woman dropped her purse. Coins fell. Papers flew everywhere. Her passport slipped out and landed near my feet. The woman gasped and tried to bend down quickly, but she looked weak. People walked past her like she was invisible. No one stopped. My heart felt heavy. I quickly bent down and started picking up her things. I said, "Ma'am, are you okay?" She looked at me with tired eyes. She whispered, "Thank you, thank you." I gave her the coins and papers. Then I picked up her passport and handed it to her. Her fingers touched mine. Her hand was cold. She looked at me again very closely. Then she asked something strange. She said, "Are you Layla?" I froze. My eyes widened. I said, "Yes, but how do you know my name?" The old woman's lips trembled. She looked nervous. She did not answer my question. Instead, she leaned closer and whispered, "Please don't leave." My skin got cold. I asked, "What's wrong?" Her eyes filled with fear. She said, "Someone is watching me." I slowly turned my head and looked behind us. Near the airport entrance, I saw a man. He was tall. He wore a gray jacket and a black cap. He was standing still. He was not checking in. He was not talking to anyone. He was just watching us. My stomach dropped. The old woman squeezed my arm. She said, "He followed me from outside. I saw him near the taxi area. Then I saw him again at the entrance. Now he's here." I swallowed hard. I wanted to say, "Maybe you are mistaken," but something about the man's eyes felt wrong. He looked like a shadow, like he had one purpose. I took a deep breath. I tried to stay calm. I said to the woman, "Okay, stay with me. We will go to security." The old woman nodded quickly. We walked fast. My heart was beating hard. I could hear my own breathing. We reached the information desk. A young receptionist was standing there. Her name tag said Linda. I said, "Excuse me, this woman needs help. Someone is following her." Linda looked shocked. She looked at the woman's face. She saw fear. She immediately picked up the phone. She said, "Security to terminal entrance, please." Her voice was fast and serious. The man in the gray jacket saw what was happening. He looked around quickly. Then he started walking away. My chest tightened. I pointed at him and said, "That's him." Linda looked. The old woman nodded. Her lips were shaking. She said, "Yes, that's him." A security officer arrived. He was tall and strong. He asked, "Where is the man?" I pointed again. The officer ran. 2 more officers followed him. People started staring. The line stopped moving. Everything became tense. The old woman started crying softly. I held her hand and said, "It's okay, you're safe." But inside, I was scared too. I kept thinking, what if he comes back? Then something else happened. I felt a sudden pull on my bag strap. It was quick. It was strong. I turned sharply. My heart jumped. For 1 second, I thought I was being robbed. But then I saw a young man holding my bag. He had dark hair. He looked about 28 years old. His face was serious. He said, "Wait, don't scream. I'm helping you." I looked at him in shock. My mouth was open. I said, "What?" He pointed behind me. He whispered, "That man was trying to steal your bag. I grabbed it first." I turned my head quickly, and I saw the man in the gray jacket again. He was moving fast through the crowd. He was not running yet, but he was trying to disappear. The young man said, "Come this way." He gently pulled me toward the security area. I hesitated, but I followed. My hands were shaking. We reached the officers again. I shouted, "He is there. He tried to take my bag." The officers turned. They blocked the man's path. The man tried to push past them. He tried to run. But one officer grabbed his arm. Another officer grabbed his shoulder. The man struggled for a few seconds. Then he stopped. His face looked angry. A police officer came quickly. The police asked questions. They searched his pockets. They found 2 passports that were not his. They found a small notebook with names and numbers. They found cash and strange photos. The police officer looked at me and said, "Ma'am, you did the right thing." Then he turned to the old woman and said, "He has been targeting travelers. You are safe now." The old woman collapsed into a chair and cried harder. She kept repeating, "Thank you, thank you." I felt dizzy. I sat down too. The young man sat beside me. He looked at my face and said, "Are you okay?" I nodded, but my voice was weak. I said, "I was so scared." He said softly, "You were brave." I looked at him. His eyes were calm. I felt a strange comfort. He smiled a little and said, "My name is Ethan." I swallowed and said, "I'm Layla." He laughed quietly. "I know," he said. "I heard the old woman call you." I also laughed a little. The tension inside my chest became lighter. After some time, the police took the man away. Security thanked me again. The receptionist, Linda, gave the old woman a glass of water. The old woman held my hands and said, "My daughter, you saved me." I said, "No, you're okay now. That's what matters." She told me she was going to visit her grandson in London. She had not traveled alone in many years. She said she was afraid. I smiled and said, "You are stronger than you think." She kissed my hand and cried. I felt emotional. I realized something. Sometimes we think we are small, but in one moment we can become someone's safety. Ethan walked with me to my gate. He said he was also going to London. He was traveling for a job interview. He worked as a graphic designer. We talked slowly as we walked. I noticed his voice was gentle. He did not talk too much. He listened more. I liked that. At the gate, we sat near the window. We watched planes move outside. I told him about my training program. I told him it was my first international trip. He smiled and said, "Then London will always be special for you." I nodded. Then I said, "Today already made it special." He looked at me for a moment. Then he said, "Can I ask you something?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Can I keep in touch with you?" My heart beat faster. I felt shy, but I smiled and said, "Yes." He gave me his number. I saved it in my phone. When they called our boarding group, we stood up and walked onto the plane. On the flight, I sat near the window. Ethan sat 2 rows behind me. I could see him sometimes. I felt safe knowing he was there. When the plane took off, my stomach jumped. The city became smaller and smaller. The clouds looked like soft white mountains. I whispered to myself, I can't believe this is my life. Then I remembered my mother's hug. I remembered Mr. Khan's words, and I smiled. I landed in London the next morning. The air felt cold and fresh. The airport was huge. People walked fast. Signs were everywhere. I felt a little lost, but also excited. I took a taxi to my hotel. The driver spoke English with a strong accent. I tried to understand every word. I listened carefully. I repeated some words quietly in my mind. I was already practicing shadowing without even thinking. At the hotel, I checked in. My room was on the 12th floor. The view was beautiful. I could see gray buildings, busy streets, and a river in the distance. I put my suitcase down and sat on the bed. My heart felt full. I called my mother immediately. She answered fast. "Layla, are you okay?" I laughed and said, "Mom, I'm in London." My mother started crying. She said, "I'm so proud of you." I promised her I would be careful. The training started the next day. I wore my black suit. I arrived early. The room was full of people from different countries. Some spoke very fast English. Some used big business words. At first, I felt small again. But then I told myself, you belong here. I listened carefully. I took notes. I asked questions. When it was my turn to speak, my voice was calm. I explained my ideas clearly. People nodded. Some even smiled. At the end, my trainer said, "Good job, Layla." That one sentence made me feel 10 times stronger. I kept thinking my mother would be proud. After training, I had 2 free days before my flight back. I wanted to explore the city. London felt like a movie. Big buses, old buildings, street music. I visited a famous bridge. I walked near the river. I drank hot tea in a small cafe. Everywhere I went, I heard English. Real English. Fast English. But I was not scared. I practiced. I listened. I repeated sentences quietly. It felt like my brain was opening. On the second free day, I got a message on my phone. It was Ethan. He wrote, "Hi, Layla. Are you enjoying London?" I smiled. I replied, "Yes, it's beautiful. How about you?" He wrote, "Nervous. My interview is tomorrow." I replied, "You will do great. You saved someone's day. That means you are strong." He sent a smile emoji. Then he asked, "Would you like to meet for coffee today?" My heart jumped. I stared at the phone for a second. Then I typed, "Yes, I would like that." We met in a small coffee shop near the river. When Ethan walked in, he looked different. Not like the airport. He looked relaxed. He smiled when he saw me. He said, "Hello again." I said, "Hello." We sat down. We talked for a long time. Not just about London. We talked about family. We talked about dreams. I told him about my mother and how hard she worked. Ethan listened quietly. Then he said, "Your mother raised a strong woman." I felt tears in my eyes. I looked down and smiled. Ethan told me he grew up in a small town. He said he also had hard days. He said he had failed before, but he kept trying. I liked hearing that. It made me feel less alone. When we finished coffee, we walked outside. The wind was cold. Ethan gave me his scarf. I said, "No, you need it." He said,
"I'm okay, you need it more." That kindness touched my heart. That evening, Ethan texted me again. He said, "Thank you for today. I feel calmer now." I wrote, "Good luck tomorrow." The next day, he sent another message. He said, "I got the job." I jumped on my bed. I laughed loudly. I wrote, "I knew it. Congratulations." Ethan replied, "You were my lucky sign." I smiled and held my phone close to my chest. The day I returned to Chicago, Ethan came to the airport to say goodbye. That surprised me. I did not expect it. He stood near the entrance with a small bag. When I saw him, I stopped walking. My heart felt heavy. I said, "You came?" He nodded. He said, "I didn't want you to leave without saying goodbye." We stood there for a moment. People walked around us, but it felt like only us existed. Ethan looked at me and said, "This is not the end." My breath caught. I said softly, "I hope not." He smiled. Then he said, "When you go home, remember what you did at the airport. You helped someone. You faced fear, and you still flew across the world. You are stronger than you think." I felt tears again. I nodded. Then he hugged me. It was a gentle hug. It felt safe. It felt real. When he let go, he said, "Text me when you land." I promised. When I arrived home, my mother was waiting at the airport. She hugged me like she would never let go. She touched my face and said, "You look different." I laughed and asked, "Different how?" She said, "You look more confident." I smiled because she was right. That night, I told my best friend Hannah about everything. About the training, about the old woman, about the man in the gray jacket, about Ethan. Hannah listened with wide eyes. Then she smiled and said, "Layla, maybe London gave you something more than training." I laughed and said, "Maybe." Ethan and I started talking every day. We called each other at night, we shared stories, we shared problems. He made me laugh after long workdays. 1 month later, Ethan visited Chicago. I was nervous. I told my mother, "Someone is coming." She raised her eyebrows. She asked, "Who?" I smiled and said, "A friend." When Ethan arrived, he brought flowers for my mother and chocolates for me. My mother loved him immediately. She said, "He has good manners." Ethan laughed and said, "I learned from life." We spent time together. We walked in the city. We ate street food. We talked about future plans.
2 months later, Ethan invited me to visit him again, but this time not in London. This time he said, "Come to New York. I will show you my favorite places." My heart warmed. I said yes. We met again. We walked in parks. We watched city lights. We took photos. Ethan said he wanted to capture my smile because it looked real. I felt shy but happy. Slowly, without rushing, our friendship became something deeper. It became love, not loud love, not movie love, quiet love, safe love, love that grows with time. One evening, Ethan looked at me and said, "Lila, I want you in my life for a long time." I swallowed and whispered, "I want that too." He held my hand. He did not say many words. He did not need to. His eyes said everything. 1 year later, I stood in my small kitchen in Chicago. The morning light came through the window. My mother was making tea. My phone rang. It was Ethan. He said, "Lila, I have something to ask you." My heart jumped. I whispered, "What?" He said, "Will you marry me?" For a second, I could not breathe. My eyes filled with tears. My mother saw my face and stopped moving. I whispered, "Yes." Then I started crying. My mother hugged me and cried too. We got married in a small ceremony. It was not expensive, but it was beautiful. My mother wore a simple dress and smiled the whole day. Mr. Khan even sent me a message. He wrote, "Proud of you." Hannah came and danced like crazy, and Ethan's friends welcomed me like family. The old woman from the airport also sent me a letter. She wrote, "Because of you, I stopped being afraid." When I read it, I cried again. Now, Ethan and I live in a new apartment. My mother lives with us too. She is happier now. She works less. She rests more. Sometimes I look at her hands and I feel thankful. Ethan and I still visit London sometimes, and every time I go to an airport, I remember that day. The day I helped someone. The day fear tried to stop me. The day I met someone who changed my life. I thought the biggest gift was the London training, but the truth is, the biggest gift was that unexpected call from Mr. Khan that sent me into a new world, and the unexpected moment at the airport that brought Ethan into my story. I learned something important. Sometimes life changes in small moments. Sometimes one kind action can open a new door, and sometimes the best gifts come when you are not looking for them. Great job! You finished the story. Now it is your turn to practice. Play this video again. Pause after each sentence. Repeat what you hear. Copy the voice, the speed, and the emotion. This is the shadowing technique. It will help you speak English more clearly, sound more natural, and feel more confident. Practice every day, even for 10 minutes. You are improving every time you speak. Thank you for learning with me. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Easy English StoryLab, and share it with a friend who wants to improve English. See you in the next story. Bye for now.